Welcome everyone. We're going to start. It's 2:30. I was handed a note. I'm going to read this first because it seems to be quite pertinent to today. In our crowd we have Phil Warburton from Hudson, Ohio. His mother was the person that unveiled the plaque in 1919 when she was 12 or 13 years old in the courthouse. So welcome. Thank you for coming today. It is a beautiful day, isn't it? The weather has stayed with us. We're doing very well. It's great to be here with family and friends celebrating the 100th anniversary and rededication of our one and only Victory Shaft Monument. As I reflected on writing this yesterday, it dawned on me that our monument is only 39 years older than I am. So, some of you will feel that, yes. While we're here, we need to remember our armed forces, our military men and women, who all gave some, but most importantly, those who gave all, so we could assemble here today in unity and freedom. I am Warren Davis, Morrow County Commissioner, and along with my fellow commissioners, Burgess Castle and Tom Whiston, we wholeheartedly welcome each and every one of you to this grand, once-in-a-lifetime occasion today. With little help on research, we found out the names of the commissioners in 1919 were Joe Krice, Frank Lyons, and Carl Morris. Now, I didn't have time to research this much, but the Krice name comes up in my lineage back several years ago. And I was curious, wouldn't it be nice if we could prove it? If one of the men that officiated this ceremony and the dedication in 1919 turned out to be a relative of mine as I stand here as a county commissioner in front of you today, 100 years later. The county commissioners have made a proclamation for this program and for the day, and I'd like to read that for you. Whereas Senator Warren G. Harding dedicated the Victory Shaft 100 years ago, and whereas the monument stands to represent the selfless donation of Morrow County residents, whereas Morrow County donated more per capita than any other county in the United States, and whereas it is proper and fitting that we celebrate this monumentous anniversary, and whereas we need to recognize and pass on the heritage of our county, whereas let us share in our special place in history and rededicate ourselves to the noble task of preserving and protecting our great nation, and therefore be mindful of the inscription on the north side of the monument by Lincoln. Therefore, on this 28th day of September 2019, we, the Morrow County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim this day as Victory Shaft Day in Morrow County. And now, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our State Representative, Reardon McLean.
Thank you, Warren, and thank you everybody for coming out here today. And it is such a beautiful day today in remembrance of all those people who came before us and sacrificed so much of their lives to be part of something bigger than themselves. And I talk a lot about life is about people. At the end of the day, it's about people. It's about the people back 100 years ago who had great pride and patriotism in this nation and came together in support of the global cause for our nation. And that's what we're here celebrating today. But it's more than that. It's still about people. It's about all of you out here today that make up this great county in Morrow County. The pride and patriotism that was on display 100 years ago has not diminished 1 ounce. And that's a testament to the people here who generation after generation who have invested in their children and have taught them the importance of this nation and the importance of our great flag. To that end, I've brought a commendation from the state of Ohio signed by myself and our Speaker of the House, Larry Householder. And I'll read just a snippet of it here for you today. It says, on behalf of the members of the House of Representatives of the 133rd General Assembly, on the auspicious occasion of the Centennial of the Victory Shaft to Morrow County, all those affiliated with the observance of the 100th anniversary of the Victory Shaft can reflect with pride on their accomplishments and look with optimism for a better tomorrow. We salute the residents who comprise Morrow County for their diligent endeavors and having inspired upcoming generations to experience their local history and take pride in the richness of their community. So I would like to present this to the commissioners. Mr. Davis, here you go. Thank you. And, thank you all for coming out, and God bless America. I'm all going to pass off here to Katie Haggerty, who's here on behalf of Congressman Troy Balderson.
Thank you, Representative. As Representative McLean had said, my name is Katie Haggerty. I'm here on behalf of Congressman Troy Balderson, and he has also presented a proclamation, and I will read that here real quick. Congratulations to the citizens of Morrow County on the Centennial rededication of its World War I Victory Shaft. Over the years, the Victory Shaft has stood as a symbol of Morrow County's rich local history. In 1919, following World War I, Morrow County won this monument by outpacing Ohio's 87 other counties in war-saving stamp purchases. As we gather here today to celebrate Morrow County's wartime sacrifice, it is fitting that we pause to recognize the significance of this monument and the men and women who gave their lives in sacrifice to our nation. Their self-sacrifice and unwavering commitment helped ensure America remained a beacon of freedom to the world. On behalf of the citizens of the Ohio 12th Congressional District, I am pleased to recognize Morrow County Victory Shaft on its 100-year rededication and extend my thanks to the citizens and patriots of Morrow County. Congressman Troy Balderson.
We had talked a few minutes ago about these proclamations and what to do with them. They're very important, and they need to be saved for the next celebration in 100 years. We're going to donate them to the Historical Society and hope they'll put them on display over there so everyone can see them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. I'm Mr. Willits, Vice Chairman of the Morrow County War Savings Committee. It is with great honor that I preside over today's ceremony. Would you all please stand, and gentlemen, remove your hats for the playing of the Star-Spangled Banner.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous height o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Jamie Zeger. Please welcome the Reverend D.H. Kramer as he leads us in the invocation.
Please bow your heads with me. Our Father, who art in heaven, we give thanks for the many blessings you have bestowed upon our citizens of Morrow County. As we celebrate and honor our community's efforts to assist in the war effort, we pause to remember the true price of war. That price is our brothers from here who have lost their lives and are now inscribed on the side of the very monument we dedicate today. Continue to protect our citizens and provide in only ways you can do so. In your heavenly name we pray. Amen.
The Honorable William Graves Sharp will make the presentation of the Victory Shaft.
Mr. Chairman and citizens of Morrow County, on behalf of the Ohio War Savings Committee and the Bar Quarries Manufacturers Association of Vermont, I have been asked to formally present to you, the people of Morrow County, this beautiful shaft of granite, dedicated not only as a symbol of victory, but as a memorial to those of your brave sons who gave their lives that victory might be achieved. I esteem it a high honor and a privilege to perform this duty. For a people among whom I was born, in a house still standing but a block away, I have ever had the highest sentiments of goodwill and affection. It has been a source of pride to me that many years after leaving Morrow County, in my early boyhood days, I came to represent in Congress for a number of years, in party by the grace of your suffrage, that fine constituency of the old 14th District which embraced within its territory both the county of my birth and that of my adoption, splendid Lorraine, whose shores are washed by the waters of Lake Erie. From the lips of my grandparents of blessed memory, I have often heard sung the praises of the original settlers of our town and county. It is no surprise to me that such stock should come from those patriots and those patriotic qualities and the type of enterprise which has brought to Morrow County the single honor of being the first in all Ohio. Indeed, I understand in all the country, and the amount of sales of war-saving stamps measured by the per capita test. It is the descendants of those early pioneers who gather here today to join in the solemn service of commemoration. They would bow low their heads in deepest reverence and in grateful recognition of those young patriots who, on foreign soil, made the supreme sacrifice for their country's cause. By this beautiful ceremony, they would consecrate this spot in hallowed memory of their deeds, that generations yet unborn may do homage to them. In a land in which it was my privilege to serve my government for nearly 5 years during the most monumentous period of its history, this prevails a beautiful custom of showing gratitude and reverence to its most distinguished sons. Throughout France, there exists an intense local pride upon the part of every community, no matter how small or obscure its place, in erecting in his public square tablets of bronze or statues of marble, which inform the travelers passing through its streets that so many years before, such and such a person was born there. Thus, in perpetuity are honored their poets, philosopher, statesmen, and generals. Streets, bridges, and parks are also named after their noted sons who have contributed to the good of their fellow man, or the renown of their country. One need not be compelled to go to the cemeteries to learn from tombstone inscriptions of their lives. The burial places of the immortal Lafayette in the outskirts of Paris is more humble than that of any of the dead who lie asleep in your own beautiful cemetery over on the hill. But his name will always live in the everyday life of the French people who promenade on streets named after him, cross Lafayette bridges, and assemble in Lafayette parks and galleries. It is with a just pride akin to such as this that this noble shaft is today dedicated. But the sentiment, I am sure, is alloyed with a deep sense of lasting gratitude, one of those treasured attributes of the human heart. How poor are mere words to voice such feelings, occasions like this but serve to show. At such a time, the epic message of the sainted Lincoln on the battlefield of Gettysburg comes down to us from other days of national crisis with peculiar application. In a larger sense, he said, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here have consecrated it as far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note, nor long remember, that what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. Would you have me tell you of their deeds? Such a story would be the chronicling of innumerable acts of daring and endurance, of heroic suffering and sacrifice unknown before the history of war. On one occasion, but a week before the signing of the armistice, I met at a luncheon General Duggan, head of the famous troops of Algeria. It was at Nancy, not many miles from the Eastern Front, which for the brief remainder of the war saw such intensive action. The general told me of the marvelous courage and fighting qualities of our American soldiers, which he had witnessed in one of the decisive battles in which they first took a prominent part. He said that on each side of him, in close touch with his own forces that day, was a company of our boys. With such enthusiasm, he described the manner in which, in charging the enemy, they had gone forward with such dash and absence of fear as to in which literally compel by sheer example of his own men to follow in the desperate charge to victory. It was Premier Clemenceau himself who during this time, on one occasion, in voicing his gratitude, said to me that the only criticism he had of our troops was that they were too reckless in their fighting. Those were indeed times when it made the sojourn in foreign lands proud to be an American. As one in position during all those days of doubt to gauge the true significance of such stirring events, may I tell you that it was the courage, as exalted as it was invincible, with which our boys faced the enemy on many battlefields that finally turned the tide of the war to victory. The distinguished Marshal Foch has said as much, long after the sound of the last shot on the war from battlefields from France had died away, in a notable after-dinner speech in Paris, after paying on eloquent tribute to the achievements of the American soldiers and sailors and the great French commander, concluding, he said, "As I recall those moving times, those days of anguish, then of success, I lift my glass in honor of President Wilson, who so valiantly sustained the war, in honor also of my American companions in arms, generals and soldiers equally glorious, rendered decisively the victory of liberty. No Allied general knew better than he the incomparable qualities of our men." As the waters of some cooling brook revive the wilting plant, so much examples of heroic devotion and sacrifice to a great cause revived the drooping hopes of the war-weary troops of our Allied brotherhood. They had long borne the brunt of the battle, and now the battle that was to come, in a manner and at a time most necessary, that succor which would alone ensure victory to the Allied forces. The names of the 9 and 20 of your martyred dead, Morrow's full quota to the great cause, are inscribed in the endearing letters upon this monument. Whether some may have died at Chateau Thierry, others in the forest of Agon, or still others in the hospitals near the front, I know not. It is enough for us to feel that though their bodies lie beneath those white crosses, which in so many places dot the landscape near the battlefields of France, their spirits are here with us today, giving their benediction and ceremonies. May not the inspired words of Lincoln again be invoked in solemn admonition that we, the living for whom such sacrifices were made, dedicate ourselves to meeting the problems which today confront our country. Problems both from within and without, far from grave, I am persuaded, than those which followed the War of the Rebellion. As the recent Great War dwarfed all others in history, in its very size, so it has left behind difficulties and danger in readjustment, in the regaining of equilibrium among the nations of the earth, that outrank in the gravity anything before known to the world. But a short time since the world was electrified by the fervent consecration of all America to the cause of liberty, justice, and humanity. In its manifestation, it was like unto the Crusades of old, as if by magic a peaceful nation was organized into a great military camp. Our prowess of land, sea astonished the world. Money and blood were poured out like water from the triumph of that cause. With its winning, shall we make a mockery of such exalted ideas by our greed for dollars? More dollars? Shall the spirit of such altruism give way to the reign of the profiteers, both big and little, in their unconscionable exploitation of the necessities of the people? And shall we, by a policy of selfish isolation, defy a helpful participation in world affairs and the perpetuity of principles and ultimate peace for which we may be maintained? The duty to immediately expel from our shores those scourges of civilization, the anarchists of Bolshevism, comes to us as thundering command. Such are some of our problems, domestic and foreign, which are as eminent as they are vital to our peace and security. But as we mourn our dead, let us be grateful for the safe return of our vital to our peace and security. But as we mourn the dead, let us be grateful of the safe return of our fireside of the 2 million living. Just as brave as those who fell in the battlefield. Though they are ready to make the sacrifice even unto death, it is for them, in a larger way than ever before, to help raise the standard of American citizenship. With the unveiling of this monument, so appropriately by the hands of the little daughter of one of those who died on the soil of France, and as we turn away from the scene, what finer requiem of the dead than the lines of the young Lieutenant Rupert Brooke, the soldier poet who died early in the war in the seas of the Aegean. Blow out, you bugles, over the rich dead. There are none of these so lonely and poor of old, but dying has made us rarer gifts than gold. These laid the world away, poured out the red, sweet wine of the youth, gave up the years to be, of work and joy and that unhoped serene, that men call age and those who would have been. Their sons they gave their immortality, blow, bugles, blow, they brought us from our dearth. Holiness lacked so long the love and pain. Honor house come back as king to the earth, and paid his subjects with the royal wage, and nobleness walks in our ways again. And we have come into our heritage. Citizens of Morrow County, on behalf of the generous donors and of those that their untiring work is in such a large measure responsible for that which is added to much of fame and your country, I now formally present to you this memorial shaft. May the memories of the glorious deeds of your brave sons, living and dead, be as lasting as the granite of which it is comprised.
Thank you, Mr. Graves. If you'll turn your attention to the Victory Shaft. Unveiling the Victory Shaft today is Betty Johnston. She's the daughter of the late Dr. T.P. Johnston. Please welcome Chairman Frank McMillan for the acceptance and dedication of the Victory Shaft.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished guests, servicemen of Morrow County, friends and relatives of our deceased soldiers, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great privilege to speak for the people of Morrow County on this important occasion. Honorable William G. Sharp, representing Mr. H.P. Wolf, Director of the Ohio War Savings Committee, and Mr. Ethel R. Bell of the Bar, Quarries, and Manufacturers Association, through words most fitting, has presented this beautiful victory shaft to the people of Morrow County. It gives me great pleasure to say to Mr. Wolf and to Mr. Bell, here present, that the people of Morrow County accept this memorial with sincere gratitude. Our appreciation must find expression in deeds. Words cannot perfectly convey our thanks for this gift. Through the generosity of the Ohio War Savings Committee and the Bar, Quarries, and Manufacturers Association, Bar, Vermont, and as a result of the loyal and patriotic response of our people in purchasing more war-saving securities in excess per capita of any other county in the state, Morrow County has this day erected this lasting and appropriate memorial in honor of her sons and daughters who went forth in answer to their country's call to battle in her defense and in behalf of the cause of humanity. In a word, let me say that the success of our people in winning this victory shaft can be attributed to two outstanding principles: patriotism and civic pride. It has been well said that these two principles have a meaning in a republic which they have nowhere else. They appeal to the loftier emotions of which humanity is capable: love, gratitude, and sense of duty. Next to the love of God, the love of country is the highest and purest affection of the soul. At its bidding, young men and old men give their lives, mothers their sons, wives their husbands, and maidens their lovers. Patriotism and civic pride are the principles for which 600 men and women went forth from Morrow County to answer the call of their country, and for which 29 gave their lives. These are the principles which caused the donors to offer this splendid price. They are the same principles which prompted the citizens of Morrow County to win this memorial. The people of our county are therefore permitted to express in a permanent manner their appreciation for the service performed by their sons and daughters who served under the colors in the World War during the years of participation by our government, the United States of America. And now, on behalf of the people of Morrow County, we dedicate this Memorial Victory Shaft in honor of all Morrow County men and women who wore the uniform of their country and served under the colors during the World War of 1917 to 1918, and to the memory of those who gave their all that liberty might not perish. 10 men lie buried on the blood-stained battlefields in France, while 19 live in honored graves on American soil. May each of us who are living perform our duty towards our God, our homes, our country, and the needs of the world everywhere, so that the sacrifices made and services performed by our boys in khaki, both living and dead, may not have been made in vain.
The gentlemen will now remove their hats, and we will all observe a moment of silence. It is with great honor that I introduce to you the dedicatory address presented by the next President of the United States of America, the Honorable Warren G. Harding.
Mr. Willits, ladies and gentlemen, neighbors, and dear friends, of the many invitations I have been honored to accept, none has brought me more genuine pleasure than yours. You are my near neighbors, and many of you personally know me. What an honor for me to return to the county of my birth on this great occasion. As I stand here, just a few miles from the treasured scenes of boyhood, I have added pleasure of greeting friends who are dear to my heart. Mr. Frank Miller, my roommate from days at Ohio Central College. and my first business partner, as together we were editors and proprietors of the Iberia Spectator, my first excursion in the news profession. I see others, Dr. Nathaniel Tucker, Mr. Mark Cook, who have contributed much to build the present and the future of this community. Indeed, I am pleased to see Mr. Beebe, with whom I've worked closely over the years in our shared profession of reporting the news. I have been warmly greeted by so many, Mr. McMillan, Mr. Comrie, Mr. Millard, and Mr. Fate, leaders all. Finally, let me not be remiss in recognizing Captain Virgil Peck and these honored soldiers. You and so many others answered your country's call in the most splendid way. My people early in the last century settled in a section that was just to the south and east of Blooming Grove, near the northern edge of what became this great county. Among my earliest recollections are the grists taken to Lexington for grinding. I recall distinctly the stories of my great-grandmother, who related to me how she had often gone with one bag of wheat on horseback while the men were busy in the fields, and the cries of the wolves were a frequent accompaniment to the wearied homeward journey. That was in the days when heroes were without fame's acclaim, when a sturdy manhood and womanhood were battling the wilderness to reveal Ohio to the star of empire westward marching. Indeed, Morrow County, you have a population whose seed is of the sturdiest and best. I am reminded of the Reverend George Gordon, late of Iberia, whose conviction that men could be educated to make good decisions without the use of force lead to his imprisonment. And yet the injustices of his conviction was recognized by the great President Abraham Lincoln, who granted Reverend Gordon's pardon. The Farm Bureau group represented in today's festivities bring to mind the invaluable role of farmers in the recent war effort. The splendid part played by the farmers of the nation during the war probably never will be understood or fully appreciated by our people. And yet you embodied that role. More than 25% of all our fighting men came from the farms like these young men who willingly answered our nation's call. And after sending your sons to the camps, you, the fathers and mothers, with the help of the younger children, turned to produce more food than was ever produced in the history of the world in the same time and from the same area of land. Your working days were measured not by the clock, but by the number of daylight hours. You took to yourselves the responsibility of feeding not only our own people, but also our allies across the sea. In more ways than one, you made the war your war, and counted no sacrifice too great to help fight through a successful finish. The story of what you did, written by someone who understands it, will furnish one of the most glorious chapters in American history. One thing I may say in every American conflict, from the Revolution for Independence to the World War for maintained rights, the farmer has been 100% American and ready for every sacrifice. Yet you did not stop with the sacrifice of your sons, nor the sacrifice of your time. You also sacrificed your profits to meet the need when asked by your great country. Thus it seems to me most fitting that you, the earnest, hard-working people of Morrow County, have earned this great monument through your selfless sacrifice in supporting our country and our soldiers in the Great War. My visit today brings back many fond memories of growing up in Morrow County, swimming in the creek after a day's work on my grandfather's farm near Blooming Grove, and of my college days in Iberia. I'm reminded today my first address delivered to the masses outdoors in a corner of Morrow County. It was a much smaller and more somber occasion, now nearly 40 years past, when I stood beneath the elm trees at Ohio Central College to deliver the eulogy for dearly departed, if not fondly remembered, philosophy textbooks. My friends, we stand here distanced from those carefree days of the childhood by time and by the tribulations of war. I believe that every American should do everything he can to show his gratitude to the young men who went out to defend our country in the World War. I want to show my gratitude in helping America to do this part, to see that neither they, their sons, nor their sons' sons should ever be called to the battlefront again. If I speak the consciences of America, we will lead the world out to outlaw war, and I am not uttering the sentiments of a pacifist people. No nations are isolated any longer. I think this new relationship ought to be turned into a relationship among nations of fellowship, of concord, and of peace. If it should be my good fortune to be called to authority, everything possible will be done to bring the world into cooperation, but without a single thing being done to surrender the independence and freedom of our country. God grant that in emerging from the conflict with this attendant loss of blood and treasure, we shall have discovered our national soul. Let capital and labor recall the fundamental Americanism, transcend their importance for today and the morrow. Let us remember that nationalism is our fostering influence. Momentous achievements are not wrought in impatience. No republic has permanently survived. They have flashed, illuminated, and advanced the world, and faded or crumbled. I want to be a contributor to the abiding republic. None of us today can be sure that it shall abide for generations to come, but may we hold it unshaken for our day and pass it on to the next generation preserved in its integrity. This is the unending call of duty to the men of every civilization. It is distinctly the American call to duty. To every man who believes we have come to the nearest dependable popular government the world has yet witnessed. Let us have an American walking erect, unafraid, concerned about its rights, and ready to defend them, proud of its citizens and committed to defend them, and sure of its ideals and strong to support them. We are 100 million and more today, and if the miracle of the first century of national life may be repeated in the second, the millions of today will be the myriads of the future. I like to think that out of the discovered soul of the Republic and through our preservative actions in the supreme moment of human progress, we should hold the word American, the proudest boast of citizenship in all the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the reenactment of the Centennial dedication ceremony of the Victory Shaft. I would like to welcome to the stage the chairman of the Victory Shaft Dedication Centennial Committee, Ms. Donna Carver.
Thank you. Our forefathers left a message to us in a copper box beneath the Victory Shaft. Their words to us were, in part, to future generations, to you who are yet unborn, we, the people of Morrow County, through the Morrow County War Savings Committee, commend your humble consideration of the acts and circumstances which surround the erection and dedication of this tribute to our honored heroes. It is our sincere hope and expectation that future generations will hold in high esteem the ideals for which Morrow County soldiers and sailors risked their lives in 1917 and 1918 while in service during the period in which the United States was engaged in the World War. 29 of our men gave their all, their lives, that liberty might not perish. Yours for faith in God of nations and for the love of country. At this time, I would like to read the names of the 29 men whose names are engraved on the monument who gave their all for our country. Vernon Z. Aldrich, Edward J. Axelfeld, Leonard Boehm, Clarence Boer, Albert P. Bowie, Myron C. Karras, Lester G. Carter, Fred B. Corwin, Ralph B. Cyphers, William McDaly, Frank George, Arthur B. Harris, Ray D. Helt, Emmett C. Hinderlong, George D. Hutton, Rex D. Jenkins, Thomas P. Johnston, Edward J. Crease, Ralph W. Mellett, Parker Miller, Herman H. Morrison, John B. Murphy, Lawrence W. Philbrook, William S. Scarborough, Leslie D. Summerlot, Hartley Schofield, Harry V. Williams, Earl C. Wright, Cloyd O. Yeager. It is our committee's hope that today's events have accomplished what our forefathers had hoped that we, the future generations of which they spoke, would achieve. Today's event was a large undertaking, which could only be accomplished by the efforts of numerous county organizations, villages, businesses, churches, and individuals. They're named on the back of the commemorative document. I would like to thank the members of the Victory Shaft Dedication Centennial Committee. We could not have accomplished this event without each and every one of you. There are several that I wish to mention specifically today. First, thank you to the Village of Mount Gilead and their employees of all the departments for their part in organizing and implementing today's celebration. Thank you to the Morrow County Historical Society retired teachers who went into the county schools to teach our children about what the monument was and what it stood for. Thank you to the Williamsport Grange number 1815 for the Veteran Banner Project and Tribute. Thank you to the Junior Fair Board for organizing today's parade. Thank you to the Morrow Little Theatre for organizing and presenting today's dedication reenactment. Thank you to Robin Jordan of Thread White and Blue for donating the veil for the Victory Shaft. Thank you to Aaron Frazier for designing the commemorative booklet as well as today's programs. And special thanks to the Brucker family, Meryl, Jane, Jim, Robin, and Jamie, for covering the cost to print the commemorative booklet. Lastly, thank you all for attending today. We hope that you are inspired by the greatness of our forefathers. Take pride in our county's accomplishment and never forget those who laid down their lives for our freedom. God bless them, God bless you all, and God bless America.